Monday Matt the Boulder King never ceases to amaze me. He seems to be going more and more PC, social justice warrior, as basically all other groups have told him to go fuck off. And this video might be a little sort of, I don't know, controversial, as we are going to go into race realism, and I will try and convey my opinions best I can. Don't worry, I'll do a better job than this fucker, as, yeah, he's basically just like, oh, you're racist, you're racist. It's just pathetic, Matt. I'm also going to be trying to cut down his video, as some of it is insanely boring, so we'll just cut all that out. His start 20 seconds of his video is basically, when you die, you have an obituary, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, let's go.
And our contributions oftentimes get overlooked, especially if we do dumb things in the process. And that's what leads me to this particular story, which is, again, going to be an interesting one to discuss, even though I completely disagree with the idea behind it. A DNA pioneer stripped of his honors over reprehensible race comments.
Don't you just love it? A scientist giving his scientific opinion about an issue stripped of his honors because it's not PC enough. Now, yes, some of his comments are quite funny, but I don't think he should be stripped whatsoever, and the underlying point that he's making, at least in terms of the race sort of question, does make a bit of sense. But what's MundaneMatt's take on it? Yeah, he's a racist.
I do want to quickly point out that when I say I disagree with what's behind it, I disagree with what he said. I disagree with what he said, not necessarily the actions of losing his honor for having these comments. I don't think race realism is something that's real. I don't believe that it's real. People out there are going to claim that it is. This comment section will be full of people trying to argue that it is. I simply disagree. My take on it is this. It's nature versus nurture.
So I looked into this, and it's about 80% nature, 20% nurture. So obviously it's not 100% nature, but still, there is a bit of a difference there. And please, I'm not saying that, you know, the average black person's just going to be fucking retarded or anything like that, but we're just talking about averages. So an average in a society. And, you know, if that average IQ in that society is obviously lower, then it limits you quite a bit. And, yeah, I'm sorry, Boulder King, but, you know, where are you getting any of this from? Oh, yeah, I just don't believe in race realism. What? Because it hurts your fifis? Like, there is biological differences in the races, such as black people, you know, obviously. They're more athletic, they're stronger, generally they're taller, have bigger dicks. And if this came out as being like, oh, black people are actually, you know, on average smarter than, you know, white people, I reckon you'd probably be changing your tune slightly. And guess what? White people don't have the highest average. It's East Asians. So it's not like it's even white supremacy or anything like that. And also, you can go into history, like, it's not the entire reason, but for example, the, you know, Aborigines in Australia have some of the lowest IQs, didn't even have a written fucking language, like, they didn't have really any structures whatsoever. It's sort of, you know, it's not entirely IQ, but you can't say it's got nothing to do with IQ. It's just, you know, people get so offended over this topic. You know, like, I watch a lot of black people, I know a lot of smart black people, but still, we're talking about averages here. It's just, holy shit, just calm the fuck down. I don't think it's a triggering statement to say there might be differences in the races in terms of intelligence.
People who have access to certain types of education, I think, advance in different ways. And I think that while humans are equal, I think humans all have the capacity for grand intelligence. People are not going to have the same life experiences. They're not going to have the same education, and trying to apply the same metric to everybody the whole world over is going to yield, I think, disproportionate results. And that's ultimately where I find myself on this particular topic. But
yeah, I know, you seem to think it's entirely nurture, which I think is pretty ridiculous. I watched Stefan Molyneux's video on this same article, and it was actually quite interesting. He was bringing up a lot of good points. My thought on it is, you know, you can train and you can nurture like a 5'3" Asian guy to play basketball from, like, basically as soon as he can walk. I really don't think there's going to be much that you're going to be able to do just due to freaking biology, just how they were born. Like, you might get sort of that 1 in a million where they actually can really compete, but still, it's just stacked against them. So instead of just being like, yep, all people are equal, you know, yep, there's no differences whatsoever, maybe you should start being like, okay, what are the differences, and how can we sort of improve so that we can help these people out. And like it's just you're the type of person that is gonna be like, oh well, Declan thinks all black people are just fucking morons. No, obviously not. It's just on average they have less IQ than most of the other races. Guess what? Aborigines IQ's like I think read the average one was like 50 or 55 or something like that. It's just reality. So I'm sorry that reality doesn't conflict with your fifis, but it's just you're like, oh yeah, race realism, complete bullshit because like you have not thought about this issue really at all, have you? It's just your feelings.
What's going on here is that this dude, yeah, he said some real dumb things, and as a result, he got into a fair amount of trouble. Whether you agree with him or not, some of the comments are definitely over the line. Saying here that a Nobel Prize winning American scientist who co discovered DNA has been stripped of his honorary titles at the laboratory he once led after repeating racist comments. James Watson, who discovered the double helix structure alongside Francis Crick in the 50s, said in a PBS film that genes cause a difference in intelligence between white and black people in IQ tests. The 90-year-old's comments were labeled as reprehensible by the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory on New York's Long Island, where Watson had been a director from 1968 to 1993. The laboratory said that it unequivocally rejects the unsubstantiated and reckless personal opinions that Dr. Watson expressed, and that noting the statements were reprehensible and not supported by science.
Yeah, well, from what I've read, they actually are supported by science. This is a problem when you try and do scientific research through a PC lens where everyone is just 100% equal. There's just no differences in the races whatsoever. The continent of Africa, you did realize they had all those resources before the evil white man came in, right? And they did fucking nothing with them. So yes, it's not 100%. It's not like all black people are just gonna be fucking retarded to the end of time. But still, like he shouldn't. Like he was now, from memory, a cancer research now, and he's been fired. So like, yeah, that's fantastic. Just because you don't like what he says doesn't mean you can just get all triggered and shit, man.
But this is where the conversation is going to get interesting for a lot of people, because you have the guy who co-discovered the double helix structure, therefore opening up our understanding and our ability to study DNA and gene sequencing, genetics, things like that. This dude is kind of on the forefront of that. So his ideas are going to be some of the most revered in science because he was the first person to kind of lead the charge. But that being said, it's one of those situations too where this guy was came from a very different world. If you think about it, he came from a very different world, even though we've moved on as a society and a culture. His opinions clearly haven't, and oh my God, this is what he says.
Oh, okay, I see. So we've just moved on as society, and that he's what now, just a fucking moron. Is that the argument that you're making, Matt? Like, yeah, or I can also make that same argument. There's just infinite genders because we've just moved on as society, and anyone that believes that there's only two genders, yeah, they're just ignorant. They're just fucking assholes, right? It's just, come on, man. That's just such a stupid line of reasoning. Oh, yeah, you could just be a man, you can just be a woman, you can be whatever the fuck you want, because we as a society have seen the fucking light.
Watson had previously told Britain's Sunday Times in 2007 that he was inherently gloomy about the prospect of Africa because all of our social policies are based on the fact that their intelligence is the same as ours, whereas the testing says not really. That's bad, but he goes on to say here, the scientist added that while he hoped everyone was equal, people have to deal with black employees find that this is not true.
So I do agree somewhat with his statement about the prospects of the continent of Africa as, yeah, even if you look at it lately, it looks like it's pretty fucked. But then if you go into the point of, oh well, people have had black employees will know this, like that's a bit silly, as obviously there are smart black people. So you could have a freaking genius as your employee that's black. But in terms of averages, if you're trying to run our society and the average IQ is freaking 70, then you're kind of fucked, really.
Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to say those sort of things because for one, that's not That's not true. It's not true at all. That's pure unadulterated racism, right? If you're trying to argue nature versus nurture on an educational standpoint, uh, based upon continental upbringing, I could understand that topic being taken place. But if you're trying to argue it on a social scale, in a no, dude, that's because that's taking it out of science based discussion and moving it over to this is just your opinions, and your opinions are kind of shit.
Yeah, coming from the guy that fucking flags everyone's videos and lies about it, and it's just said some utterly just stupid shit. Now, yes, I personally don't agree with the whole, people that have had black employees, but still the comment before, like, yeah, like, I actually do agree somewhat. You know, but look at what's fucking happening in South Africa at the moment. Do you think that's a great situation, Matt? And still, even though if you completely disagree with this, he shouldn't have been, just disavowed completely. Like, holy shit.
Your opinions are pretty shit. I don't agree with that at all. I can see why he's getting in trouble. But it's like, but even the thing is, it's not the worst thing that he said. He did apologize for the comments in 2007. But his views, he said his views haven't changed. In 1997, Britain's Sunday Telegraph quoted him as saying that women should be allowed to abort a child for any reason, such as if a gene for homosexuality were found in the fetus. During a lecture tour in 2000, he suggested there might be links between a person's weight and their level of ambition, between skin color and sexual prowess.
Well, you're pro-choice, aren't you, Matt? Women's right to choose. Why don't they have the right to choose the fact that if there was a homosexual geez, they don't want a gay child, why don't they have the right to obviously abort that child? Like, I am pro-life. You're pro-choice. So, what, are you going to really stop a woman having the right to choose, Matt? That's pretty shit, man.
He says that's why you have Latin lovers. You've never heard of an English lover, only an English patient. Oh, wow. And then he also suggested in 2003 that this genetic disease, our stupidity was a genetic disease that should be treated. So this dude has clearly had some opinions. Clearly had some opinions. Even the stupidity being a genetic disorder, I would argue again, is nature versus nurture. And also, how parents raise their children.
Matt, it's 80-20. What, do you think it's 100% nurture? Is that the argument that you're making? Like, yeah, I think it'd be, idiotic to say it's 100% nature, but still, 80-20, you're working with 20%. So obviously you can go up a bit and down a bit, but still, like, the sort of realm that you're working in is quite limited, man. I'm sorry, if you take a person with the IQ of 50 and then, try and educate them as much as possible, you're only going to be able to do so much. It's just silly to say that all different races are just 100% equal in all aspects when it's just provably not so.
Which does fall under nature versus nurture, but I mean, like, at least you could argue if you want to defend this guy, you could at least say he's been consistent in his arguments, even though they are bad, right? Science has taken us further from the 1950s to now. We know a lot more than we do now. And then science is also evolving. And it feels here like Dr. Watson is ultimately not evolved, that he has been in that same mindset that he's probably been in his entire life. And even though society has grown, humanity has grown, expanded, evolved, converged, he still has these opinions.
That was just gobbledygook nonsense. Yes, society has changed from the 50s, but the problem with this particular topic is that I was reading up, apparently you can't get some studies published if they're not PC enough in this particular fucking field, Matt. So, and dude, what, you collect boulders for a fucking living, I don't think you've even researched this topic whatsoever. You just say, oh yeah, nature 100%, oh, why is that? Oh, society and blah, blah, blah. It's just, no, man. Society at the moment is sort of saying that you can be infinite amount of genders. And let's take, climate change, man. Apparently, race realism and the information around that, it's many, many times more proven than fucking climate change. Yet with climate change, it's, oh, yep, the world's what that Cortez bitch. She said the world's gonna end in fucking 12 years or something. Yeah, oh yeah, but in terms of climate change, we just listen and believe, but race realism, oh no, fuck the studies. It's just nature. Yeah, it's just completely nature. Fuck. You could be. Are you a they now, Matt? Should I call you they?
And those opinions are locked in an old time where people wanted very, I think, black or white answers. And shades of gray didn't really have a functioning place in our society, whereas now that they more or less do. This is why I say our life is going to be summarized in bullet points, because when he dies, because he's in his 90s, when he dies, this will be what people remember him for. These stupid comments are going to be what they remember him for. They're not going to be remembering him for his breakthrough in genetic, in unlocking the double helix. They're not going to look at any of that. They're going to see this, because this is where society is now. I'm not saying let the guy have to look for his comments. Definitely call him out for being dumb. But I think ultimately, as time goes on, we need to realize that people are fallible and they say stupid things. They do stupid things. But I'm wondering how much of this is going to be part of his legacy is going to be tainted now forever.
Well, I guess it just depends on the groups, man. Like the progressives, obviously he's Satan now, and it kind of seems like you're sort of thinking about yourself in this situation as well, Mr. False Flagger. Wasn't there a video of you sort of where a girl claimed that you wanted to kiss at knife point type of thing? So yeah, I don't know. It really just depends. In terms of your legacy, you're pretty much fucked. But this guy, I don't know, he has made a lot of advances in science. Hopefully when we get back to the point where we can just have an absolute conversation on this, then, people like some of the comments he made are dumb. People do make dumb comments. And hey, if it was just proven that there was just no differences in the races, I'd be cool with that. But I just, from what I've researched, from what I've seen, it's just not the case. It's just silly to think that, there could be difference, height differences in like penis size, shit like that, that there is just no basis for the difference in intelligence as well. It's ludicrous to just say it's just 100% nurture just in this part.
Being stripped of his honors, being labeled as being this reprehensible racist, talking about race realism. Very interesting to see what happens next. But again, just to reiterate, I don't agree with race realism concept at all. I think it is just ridiculous and it's lazy. In my opinion, it's lazy. It's a very binary approach to a very non-binary issue, and one that requires people to think outside of their box, to think outside of their preconceived notion of how life should be, because we've learned time and time and time again that life is never like that. It's never the way you think it's going to be, and we can't come at it with the same viewpoint, because that's not always going to yield the same results. And with science, you're always testing hypotheses and working towards a better understanding of something.
Most of that was just nonsense. I think honestly Matt's going to come out as non-binary soon. So yeah, place your bets. A year, 2 years, 6 months, I don't know. But Matt, I think your sort of line of reasoning is incredibly lazy, as you just don't want to hurt people's feelings or something like that. Like, obviously, if there's an individual black guy, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you must have an IQ of fucking 70. You must be a fucking idiot. Especially if they prove that they're not. But you've just got to we've got to deal in reality. And the problem is science is becoming more and more just attacked by these PC fucking morons that just want it to fit their own bias. Like I said, I don't care if race realism was actually proven as false. But from what I've seen, it's just not the case. It's not entirely, obviously, 100% nature, but it's a large degree of it. And that doesn't mean they're bad people either, seriously. And whites aren't even the top of this. It's actually East Asians, so it's not like I'm being a white supremacist, bud. I just think this whole video was incredibly lazy. But anyway, I've got a bigger video coming on, Matt. Don't really generally cover race realism, as I just don't really find it that interesting, but it just pisses me off when people just, like Matt, they're just like, oh yeah, it's nature, he's just lazy, he's just a racist, even though science doesn't actually back up what they're saying, and they just sort of, didn't Kraut start a doxing server over this whole situation? just yeah, people just need to calm down on it all. Like, I'm obviously not saying all black people are fucking morons. I'm just saying that just on average they have a lower IQ. Yeah, but also have bigger dick sizes and stronger and tougher. So yeah, it's just yeah, we've just got to deal with it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I really will actually find it very interesting to see sort of what you guys think on this entire issue. And yeah, expect more Matt videos to come in the future, as I want to do a sort of MundaneMatt's saga type of video, as I think it'll be quite interesting to... I know Toad did a good one, but he missed some points, so yeah, I want to do that as well. But anyway, Matt, it's been really fun seeing your channel absolutely die, and yeah, I'll catch you later, man.